welcome to the StarCommand podcast. My name is David Seymour, here with my good friend Alan Bragg, here to bring you all the happenings in the sports world. If you could, before we get started, hit the like and subscribe button. Share us with your friends, man. Help us to get out here in the world, man. All right, Alan. So it is Super Bowl week. We're a little bit over 24 hours away from kickoff of the big game. I don't know how excited I am about it since we just saw this matchup a couple years ago, but
Good
we've had
matchup,
a
though. It was a good game.
bunch of trades in the NBA. There's some trade rumors swirling hard for the NFL for when the season's over. A lot of news to get to on this morning. So I think we should start off with the NBA, and then we'll move into the trades that are maybe going to be happening this NFL off season, and then break down this Super Bowl. So I mean, obviously the biggest trade is your Lakers in the middle of the night. Nobody knows anything that's going on. There are no rumors, no inkling that this could ever even be a possibility. Somehow managed to get Luka Doncic for AD and a bag of peanuts. And so, to me, it's interesting, right? Because while Anthony Davis is an otherworldly talent, right? He is a superstar. He's a game changer. He does all of that for a franchise, but he's what, 30 years old now, maybe
31.
even older, right? He's hurt quite often, right?
Used to be. Used to be.
Yeah, the last
He's had
couple
a
of years
good run.
have been better. The last couple of years have been better for him as far as injuries, but it seems odd and it was initiated by Dallas. It wasn't initiated by LA, but I mean, LeBron didn't even know about this, which is a story in of itself that LeBron had no idea that this was happening. Like nobody knew until Anthony Davis called LeBron and said, "Hey, bro, I just been traded." Like,
Absolutely. They kept it from LeBron, Rich Paul, who's Anthony Davis's agent, as well as LeBron's. Clandestine Rob Pelinka, keeping something
yeah,
a secret and pulling it off. And like you said, the Mavs GM reaching out to Pelinka and saying, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" And then Pelinka's like, "Well, yeah, let's see." And apparently, I just saw a report come out that they'd reached out to the Bucks first for Giannis. That was the first call,
really.
which is hard to believe because it kept under wraps. And I think that it's hard that if he did do that first, because it was 2 weeks prior that Dallas reached out to LA to say, "Hey, let me just, what do you think about this?" And if he did reach out to Milwaukee first, Milwaukee just sat on that information. Like, "Hey, they're offering to trade Luka, and I'm just going to sit on this." So
Yeah,
that's hard. That story is hard to believe. But they tried a Giannis Luka trade, and Milwaukee didn't want any part of it. But yeah, AD, he had a couple days prior, he had set out the 2 games prior to him getting traded. But the game before that he played, he had 41 points, double digit rebounds. And he'd been playing very well. The Lakers, overall have been playing great. I think they've won 10 out of 12. And what was it? Has it been 3 or 4 games since Luka got traded? I
yeah. I
think
think
three.
last I heard it was three in a row, which
Yeah.
I find in itself I find interesting because all the pundits on TV have been screaming about what a horrible trade this was, even for the Lakers, even though you're getting, you know, the most prolific scorer in the NBA right now coming into his prime, but both him and LeBron need the ball. How's this going to work?
Yeah, everyone's been saying it's a bad trade for LA this year.
Yeah,
But when LeBron walks away, you've got your guy going for forward for the future. You got that guy that's going to fill the arena, who's going to be competitive, that bring pieces in. But no
right.
one thought,
And that's the thing. This is the foundation of the future, right?
yeah,
Because we don't know how long LeBron's going to be in. And
looks
honestly,
like 10 more years.
is this one of those deals where they have that LeBron fatigue that some of these franchises get after he's been there for a few years and decides that he's going to start running things, and you have to do things like draft his son in the second round and give him a $55 million guaranteed contract that no other second round pick in the history has ever gotten, and the kid can't play professional basketball. I mean, if you've I've noticed that at all of LeBron's stops, both times in Cleveland, the time in Miami ended because Pat Riley was like, "No, dog, I'm a great executive. I know what I'm doing here, and we're not going to do what it is that you want me to do." And so he takes off and he goes to a team like Cleveland that obviously so desperate to have everything that they're doing whatever it is that he asks. Trade Anthony Wiggins for Kevin Love, and all of these different things. And eventually, I think that fatigue sets in. Going through coaches, because LeBron's been known to blame everybody else around him except for himself when things start to go awry. You know, and so maybe that's a little bit of that LeBron fatigue that says, all right, we have to get set up for the future because we don't know how much longer this relationship's going to last. And what we have going hasn't been working for us. So let's try to mix things up and come up with something on our own. And it just so happened what they were going to do on their own landed right on their doorstep, right? Like
But
they
like
didn't
you
even really
said,
have to go looking for it.
for an all-star and a bag of peanuts. I mean, like you said, you were spot on. Like Mikal Bridges got traded last year to the over the summer to the Knicks for 4 first-round picks.
Right.
Think about that. And Luka literally goes for a 2029 first-round pick. So 4 years from now, we're going to give you a first rounder,
Yeah.
and we're going to give you Max Christie and Anthony Davis. And you're
Yeah.
going to give us 3 players. A couple role players and Luka, the best offensive player in the league right now. My
Yeah.
one from what you just touching on what you just said. My only knock on LeBron, and I was I'm a Kobe guy.
Yeah.
So early on, I was a anti-LeBron just because of Kobe, because the whole LeBron came in fast and he immediately was getting the chosen one, and
Yeah.
I just bucked him being the greatest because I was like, no, Kobe's the greatest, and he's got to wait his turn. But all he's done is just not only get better, lead teams to championships, multiple teams. But the only knock I can say on this guy, because he lives, great man, great father, great in the
Yeah.
community. Basketball speaks for itself. Greatest, becoming the greatest of all time. Um, he's a coach killer. You're
Yeah.
right about that. He's had some great coaches that unfortunately didn't, for whatever reason, butted heads, and the turnover with LeBron is disappointing. You know,
Yeah.
um, but man, he's since the trade. I mean, you think this guy might play to 50, which is crazy. But I mean, is he? He's not slowing down. He put up 42, 17, and 8 last night or 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And while Luca's sitting there watching, and he's just inspired to say, "Hey, now I got this young kid. The next icon of basketball is on my team, and I'm going to show him what he's a part of now, and I'm going to
Yeah.
show him how to get in the weight room, and I'm going to show him how to eat, and I'm going to help him in business. He's going to end up in movies. I mean, just Luca is
What'll
in
be
a great
interesting to
spot.
see is, can LeBron show him how to play defense? Just a
No,
little bit, right? Can LeBron get him to be interested in just a tad bit of defense?
I don't
Like
think
just a
Luca's
little bit more than what he has been in his career, because that's at zero.
Luca's never going to be matched up against a guy that moves like him. It's not the NBA that there is now. There aren't those post players that he could go and learn how to play people in the post. It's not. People are fast. Everybody's got first step is quick. It's
Yeah.
guys coming off screens and quick shooting. And Luca is not quick. So he's going to get beat. He's going to get put in pick and rolls consistently come playoff time.
Yeah.
Um, and it is what it is. But I don't see him ever becoming a great defender. I mean, can he
I
be good? Can he be good? I don't know.
right. That's what I'm saying is it's not even about whether he's great or good, or can you just show me some effort on the
Can you
defensive
not hurt
side of the
us?
ball?
Can you not
Can
hurt us on the defensive end?
Right. Can you act like you're there to play both sides of the ball? That's
Well,
that's
it's like Trey Young, who, interestingly enough, is who I first thought of, who was the trade, right? That's why
mm,
Atlanta picked Luca, traded uh, him to Dallas for Trey Young, and Trey Young is the same way. Like he's such a valuable asset on your team, but he's never going to be able to be a defender because
No,
he's
he's
too
too
small.
small and slight.
And he can't
And
change
he
that.
right. He puts forth effort though. He at least gives it a go,
Yeah.
whereas Luca just I was describing it to a guy at work when we heard the Luca trade come through, is that Luca's just there to stand in front of you, right? Like if you're gonna go around him, he's gonna let you. He's just there to stand and whatever spot he's standing in, he'll put his hand up or whatever. But that's the most effort I've seen from Luca on the defensive side of the ball, and that's the part I would like to see LeBron help him out with. Not you're not going to take somebody like Luca and create a defensive player of the year award winner, right? But can you instill in him some defensive give a shit, right?
Right.
Can I get you to just put forth a little bit of effort on the defensive side of the ball?
And
And maybe some of that comes with LeBron helping him get in shape, right? That was the biggest report coming out of Dallas is maybe it's because he's overweight and he's not trying to get in shape and they're tired of him, being lazy in the weight room. LeBron's not going to allow that. Then we all know that that is LeBron's team until LeBron retires, and you're going to get in line with what's going on the court and in the locker room with LeBron. That's since he was 18 years old and came out in the NBA draft after his senior year in high school, he has commanded a locker room and commanded greatness. And so
absolutely. And he's going to lead by example. You're going to see LeBron in the weight
right,
room at whatever time he works out, and you're going to see what he eats. And it's going to be by example. You could see there could have been a guy on Dallas. Maybe I'm trying to think of who they had. I don't know if one of the big guys, but anyway, somebody with a great physique that you really were like, man, that guy, has something I want. But he's a role player that is on his fourth team, and Lucas not going to relate to that. But
right,
everything about LeBron, Luke is going to relate to and go, but that is what I want. LeBron has what I want, what I'm chasing.
yeah.
And when somebody great like that goes and can see someone greater, man, it's just sky's the limit. Uh,
It
and
is.
they got that Williams kid. He's from Duke. I think he's
Yeah,
23 years old, 22 or 23 years old, and he's got a very bright future in the NBA. Honestly, didn't know much about him until the trade, and I read a lot about him. But great around the rim, great for the lob pass. He's got a little touch hook. So he's no Anthony Davis, but
right.
Anthony Davis didn't come in the league putting up 40. But
No.
after 2 or 3 years, he became, the lead for the Pelicans. He became the man. This kid's never going to be the man, but they don't need that. They need somebody to help defend, catch lobs, pick and roll,
And
from
rebound.
playoff time. And rebound, yes, and give it to
Which I thought
LeBron.
was interesting on that trade was that they got rid of their first round draft pick from this year, Dalton Connect, and I thought he was playing well.
He
At
was.
least he had a stroke on him. He
He
was
did, but think about it. You just got Luca. Like that's what you drafted this kid to be a Luca type player, a shooter, a spot up shooter, a playmaker. You
yeah.
just went and got that guy. So there's that like you didn't need that guy anymore. But yeah,
Well, yeah,
Connect was going to be a great player.
and the truth is at this point now that we've laid just talking about Luca's defense, now that we've laid the foundation of Luca is the cornerstone, the foundation of the future. Now it's time to build around that, right? Obviously, LeBron's going to be there and he plays defense, but he well, you say he hasn't lost a step. He has. He's just been rejuvenated the last few games,
Yeah,
but
he
not
has.
he's not lost a step in the sense that you don't trust him on the court anymore. So that's one defensive piece because LeBron's always been a defensive player. Um, but now it's time to build that. We need a few guys, with Luka in the starting lineup, we need a few guys that can get us 10 to 12 points, but can fucking clamp down on defense. And
Yeah, it's going to be Austin Reeves is going to be interesting how he plays in this because the balls, him and LeBron are the primary ball handlers now. It's just them two. One of them is bringing it up. They're starting the offense. Well, now it's going to be LeBron, Luca. How's
right.
Austin Reeves going to fit in? Is he just going to become lost in the shuffle and become just a spot up shooter? I hope not. I hope that they are able to figure out how those three play together with Hachimura and Williams. Um, but I'm ready for Luka to come back. I'm going to LA. We talked about it for the call. I got
Yeah,
Laker tickets. I'm going to go see the Lakers at home for the first time in my life. I've seen Shaq and Kobe play before in Memphis. I've seen Kobe play there twice. Shaq and Kobe play when I was younger, I think in 2001 or two. So it'll be my first trip out there, and I hope Luke is playing by then for sure because he's not in the All-Star game because he's hurt. I think that
yeah,
game might be next weekend. So hopefully he comes back right after the All-Star game. So super pumped for that.
that'll be great. I don't root for the Lakers often, but I'll root for them to
Yeah,
play well while you're out there. So,
it's fun. Yeah, I'm so excited, man. Ready to see LeBron. Never seen LeBron play, so
so the couple of other trades, the one I found the most interesting because we had the Jimmy Butler trade, which everybody knew was going to happen. I don't know that it really moves the needle, and I don't even think that it's completely done yet. The last I saw was that they were still waiting on the NBA to approve some of the deals because I think it ended up being like a 3 or 4 team trade, and so there were still a couple of teams that were waiting on the NBA to approve the whole thing. So I don't know that the Jimmy Butler's completely done, but we all knew that that was going to happen. I don't know what was going on in Miami, but they were suspending him. He would come back, they would immediately suspend him again, and
yeah, he was coming back basically just to get suspended again. That's what Jimmy was doing.
right.
He's like, yeah, I got to be
So
at the plane you want me
I
at the
don't.
plane at 10 o'clock? I'll be there at 10:10. Let's see what you do.
Yeah, I think I don't. I don't get what was going on. I don't think he's played a game in like 2.5 months. So he should at least have fresh legs going into Golden State. But the one that I found really interesting as we talk about teams that are trying to build something and find cornerstones for the future was the De'Aaron Fox trade to from
Oh,
Sacramento
what a
to
great trade. Thank
San
you for bringing that
Antonio,
up.
pairing him
Thank
up with
you.
Wemby.
What a great trade. I'm so glad you brought that up. I've been wrapped up so much in the LA trade and all the others. Awesome trade. I love
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox. He's a hooper. He can do it all.
And he was just kind of lost. Like, I feel like Sacramento does this, right? They'll get a good team. Like when we were younger, it was the Jason Williams and Chris Webber days where they kind of
Yeah.
just had it all together but could never get over the hump.
They
And
had
we had
Vlade
that a couple of
Divac.
years ago.
They had what Stojakovic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they were great. And yeah, but they do. You're right. They have that team that they go into the playoffs and you're like, oh, this is the year, right? They get over the hump. They had DeMarcus Cousins and somebody recent. They had a few years back. They had a squad,
Yeah.
and they just don't. They just never get over the hump. So,
And
but
then they always end up breaking it up a couple of years later, and here we are. It's
no
getting broke up.
patience. Yeah, they have
Yep.
no patience. They've drafted some good guys, but yeah, pairing him up. Now you got Chris Paul, who's going to be a veteran out the door
Right.
to help lead and just do what he can with these kids. And you got Wimby and De'Aaron Fox. That's a start. That's a combo right there. Shaq and Kobe proved you can do
Yeah.
it with two superstars, and both of
Yep.
those are definitely superstars. So they're going to be something to watch out for.
Yeah.
Put some 3-and-D guys around them, and
Almost definitely.
they're going to be trouble.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that builds out down there in San Antonio because Wemby's going to be. I think he's probably about a year away. Like he's got to get through this season of experience and really getting to know the NBA. And I think next year the league's in trouble with him. And so to pair him with a guy that has already kind of matured into his prime, he's really just coming in. I mean, he's been good for a couple of years now, but he's like Luca, right? He's been really good, but we're into that. This is the actual prime of their career, which is crazy to think. Basketball's so crazy to me because in football, right, we don't even get these guys until they're 23, 24 years old most times, you know, 21. It's getting a little bit earlier where it's 21, 22 now, but a lot of these guys are entering their prime as soon as they come into the league. Whereas in the association, right, you got these guys are coming in at 18 and 19 years old, 1 year removed from college, and they've got 3 or 4 years of really bodies maturing, skill set
Absolutely.
maturing, mindset maturing, and so they're 4 or 5 years to the league before they hit their prime. And then you've got to, and there a lot of them are great when they come in. The Wemby's and the De'Aaron Foxes and the Lucas. These guys were stars the minute they showed up.
And they're
You know,
kids, that's what it is. They're
and they're
playing with
kids.
grown men. Yeah.
And then 4 years later, now we're entering their prime, and they have all of this information and experience. It's going to make interesting. The NBA always struggles to find that next star. You know, you had we kind of got lucky. You had Larry and Magic, and then immediately rolled into, Michael. And then Michael, you kind of really rolled into it took just a couple of years, but you rolled into Kobe pretty quick. And then obviously LeBron was already there when,
Remember that period after Jordan? We thought it was going to be Ray Allen. We thought it was
yeah,
Grant Hill. We thought Vince Carter. Like there was the next guy that everyone thought like, oh, here's going to be the next, and then so you're right. We're always trying to find that next guy. They don't always pan out what everybody thinks is the next guy.
right.
Um, and then LeBron has carried the league for 20 years. LeBron came
He
in
has,
04, I think. Yeah, 04, because he's been in the
yeah,
league 20 years.
yeah, because he's the same age as I am, right? I think he's actually a little bit young, like a few months younger than me. We were both born in '84, so um, but yeah, so yeah, '02 actually is when we graduated high. Yeah, '02 is when we graduated high school. I think he got drafted in '03.
Okay.
So
And he, just has never relinquished that torch. But and he had with him, he's had KD and Steph to
right,
battle with, and so they've had that. But those guys are about to leave, and it's that new generation coming up, and it's I'm
right.
excited to see some a lot of young talent that's doing really well.
Yes, yes, there is.
Houston, like
My
young teams
favorite
like
player in the
Houston.
league right now, though, is Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, Anthony.
I I love me some Ant Man. That dude's
Yeah.
just like the passion and the fire. And I remember he was doing all them dunks at the end of the last year, and just the way that he was playing, and everybody was like, maybe Michael Jordan's his dad. He says
Oh
he's
yeah.
never known his father, and he's from this part of Georgia, which is right by the stadium, and
Absolutely.
that stuff is funny. So let's transition. We're still talking about trades. Moving into the NFL, man. Myles Garrett has requested a trade. Cleveland says they're not going to trade him. I think they're going to have no choice but to trade him. LA has come out and said that they're going to trade Cooper Kupp regardless. They're desperately in search of a trade partner for Cooper Kupp. And there's a chance that Matthew Stafford retires because of that. Those two dudes are like super close. So I think there's a connection there where he's either I caught the tail end of it and I couldn't quite grasp what they were talking about. Is something about Matthew Stafford possibly being gone because they were talking about maybe bringing Russell Wilson into LA as a bridge quarterback for whoever it is that they draft if they can catch a couple extra picks. And I don't know if it was like maybe doing a package deal with Stafford and Cup because they want to stay together, or what the whole scenario was. But I do know that LA Rams said they are going to trade Cooper Kupp. They've let him know we're actively finding a trade partner for you. We would love your help figuring out where to send you. So a
Wow.
couple of big names that are already going to be on the move. I feel like even with Cleveland saying that they're not going to trade Myles Garrett, that they have no choice but to. When a star of that caliber comes out and says, "I'm tired of being here," and it's not that I want any more money. He doesn't care about the money. He doesn't care where you send him as long as it's a contender. All he wants is a chance to play for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, we'll see how willing he is to do that because, the more willing he is for the money to be cut, the more teams that are open to trading for him, right? I think every single team in the NFL would take him at the right price. If they could afford it, they'd take Myles Garrett. I know we would. I know you would.
I know we would right now. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Sign it
Who who
up.
who wouldn't take Myles Garrett, right? I mean,
Yeah.
stud. But it's the price, it's the money, and how can it work out? And if he's willing to waive some of that, of course, Cleveland's going to get a big cap hit from it, which is why they don't want to trade him. It's dead money. Which I still don't understand how all that works out. I gotta do some studying on dead cap. I don't understand why if you trade a guy and somebody else takes the salary, why you get hit with dead cap money. I don't understand that.
Yeah. I think I think that came around, and I'm not sure exactly how it works and what the percentage is. But do you remember Peyton Manning's last year in the NFL? He gets
with
benched for
Denver.
Brock Osweiler, right? Brock Osweiler takes them to the playoffs. They bench Brock, bring in Peyton because our defense and Peyton Manning are gonna get us over the hump. We're not gonna trust this young kid to get us over the hump. But he had a phenomenal season. Uh, Denver tries to give him pennies on the dollar to re-sign him after Peyton retires, and he goes and signs a massive contract with Houston. Probably, became one of those highest paid NFL players, till the next one. And he was horrid in Houston. Well, they end up trading him to Cleveland for like a seventh round pick because Cleveland had all of this cap space. So they took on his salary and then just dumped him. And it was called salary dumping, is what the trade was known for. And I think that came out, that whole dead cap when you trade somebody came out after that because there were a couple of teams that started to do that same thing. Like, we can't cut him because if we cut him, it's going to cost us all this dead cap money. But if we trade him to you for a seventh round pick and we'll give you, because I think Houston gave them Brock Osweiler and a first round draft pick so that they could take him and dump that salary.
Well, that I would understand, but from what you just said, you're saying that let's talk about Cleveland, or let's talk about that situation. So Houston trades Osweiler to who? Cleveland.
But yeah,
So does Houston get hit with dead cap money?
back then Houston did not get hit with dead cap money.
Okay,
So
Cleveland did.
no, Cleveland didn't either because of the way that or they did, but they had the salary cap space to
Okay, got you.
be able to.
So now because of that, they're making the team that traded you own some of that too, saying,
Yes,
"Hey, you're not going to put it all on the next team. You're going to own
correct.
this if you."
Right, and that kind of helps keep people from signing people to bad deals.
Yeah,
It's what's made people hesitant to sign. I mean, if you look at the Giants with the Saquon Barkley situation, right? His injury history, they don't have the offensive line or necessarily the people to help him have this kind of success. What if he gets hurt again and we give him all of this money? Now we're going to be stuck with all this dead cap money because we can't trade him. We can't.
so what if you? I wonder if you were to trade, like, if in a situation where, let's just say that the rules were that way back then, Houston trades Osweiler to Cleveland. What if Cleveland gives them back players that match the salary? Would that throw out everything?
I no, because they don't have salary matching trades in the NFL. Like, that's something that the NBA implemented because there was too many of the super teams, so to speak, being built because guys were demanding trades, and you know LeBron and KD are playing together, so we're going to give you, Austin Reeves for Anthony Davis, and we're going to build this team because we're going to give you a bunch of first round draft picks too
Right.
that we don't care about because we just care about winning this championship.
Gotcha.
And now all of a sudden, so
And
that's why
that's why they
that's
do
why
the
the
3 and
NBA has
4 teams.
implemented that salary matching thing is so that.
And you see those trades with 3, 4 teams involved.
Right. And the three or four teams are brought in to bring all of these pieces together and get them moving around so that all of these salaries match each other.
Like, speaking
Because
of,
it's not necessarily player for player salary has to match, but if I'm going to trade you Anthony Davis and I don't want to give up Luka Doncic, then I've got to get 5 players who collectively match Anthony Davis's salary. Well, I've only got 8 players on my entire
or the
team.
picks, because the picks count
Right.
as compensatory. Like Danny Ainge with the Utah Jazz was involved in the Luka AD trade and had no
Right.
idea what he was doing. So I don't know how that even happens, but apparently he did not know Luka was going to LA when he took those picks to make the trade happen. He
Yeah.
basically was like, "Yeah, I'll take 2 picks. What are we talking about here?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna give you 2 picks. We got a trade going on. You good with that?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. I don't have to give up anything." Yeah. And then he finds out, "Oh, I just helped my arch rival Los Angeles Lakers get
Right.
Luka." There's a lot of strange things happening, right? Like, nothing got leaked.
Right. There's
Danny
so many
Ainge of
moving
all the
parts.
GMs, yeah, Danny Ainge
So
of all
many
the
moving
GMs,
parts.
it helps the trade happen, and he would have never helped the Lakers. but he
No.
doesn't even know. Like, the people aren't asking questions. You know, it's like, hey, yeah, you're giving me a 2027 and a 2028 second round pick, two of them. Sure. I don't have no questions asked. I don't care what you're doing. Give them to me. Wait, what?
Yeah. So the Miles Garrett trade reminds me of the Reggie White trade from back in our heyday. That
Was
put
it Philly and that was Philly and Green Bay, right?
Green Bay. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And so I feel like that can be a catalyst for a team like a Washington that's right
You
on the
got
edge, or a Buffalo that's right on the edge, to get them over the top. The Cooper Cup trade, I think he's going to go for a day 3 pick. It's he's been an amazing wide receiver, but he's been hurt. He hasn't made it through a full season healthy since the Super Bowl
boy, he
season.
skyrocketed to the top of the league and then just plummeted.
Right.
Like no nothing I
No
can't remember.
parachute or nothing.
No.
So, and don't get me wrong, when he's on the field, he is a difference maker. The problem is getting him on the field. So it'll be interesting to see what the trade market is for him. Maybe they keep him right in LA. I know the Chargers right next door, could use some help at the wide receiver position. I think it would make a lot of sense to bring in a Cooper Cup for a Justin Herbert, you know.
They
Um,
definitely need wide receiver help. Yes.
yeah. And if you can get him for, a 4th or 5th round pick, because that's really, truthfully, that's what he's worth right now. I mean, I hate to say that about a guy that, won the Triple Crown of receiving just a few years ago and was a Super Bowl MVP. But the truth of the matter is his health has been a problem. And I don't see you getting any more than a 4th round pick for him. So if you're the Chargers, you can get him a 4th round pick. He doesn't have to move,
Right.
you know.
The Miles Garrett thing, I hate to say it, but I think I see Miles Garrett getting traded. Like you said, there's no way around it. He wants out. Anybody in football thinks he deserves out. He's sat there, he's kept his mouth shut, he's worked hard through all the
Right.
BS.
Signed all the extensions, said all the
And
right things.
right, you've got no plan. They can't figure out what Deshaun Watson. They're too busy worried about what's going on with Deshaun Watson and in and out of court and Achilles and what boot he's wearing and what girl he's touching.
Yeah.
They just got their hands full for a few more years. But the two teams I see that going to, and I know he would want to play for them both, is Washington and Philly.
Yep.
Both of
And
those.
somehow Philly magically always has salary cap to make those kind
Always.
of moves. And Howie Roseman will, I don't know what kind of gaslighting moves he's got, but this dude will finesse every other general manager in the league to get what he wants. And I mean, hats off to him, right?
For
I hate
sure.
to see it happen, but every offseason, I'm always like, how did they do that? I mean, just this past offseason, they paid Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, and then they brought Sam Huff in from the Giants or Jets and paid him, and he didn't even do nothing for him all year. He's
Right.
rode the bench for most of the season.
All while killing the draft
Right.
year after year.
On top of having a quarterback that you just paid $55 million a year to.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know where he keeps finding all of this money,
Best
but
roster in football. I mean, across the board by
yeah.
far.
And one other thing to touch on: have you heard of the Deshaun Watson type allegations against Justin Tucker?
No.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, he's got like, I think it's up to like 10 or 12
Did
massage
he
therapists.
got traded, right?
Justin Tucker,
Yeah. Was that fake
the
news?
kicker from the
Yeah,
Ravens?
for the Ravens.
No, not that I know
Oh,
of.
maybe that's what it was. Okay, they were putting him. Okay, I saw some memes, I guess it was, and I thought it was a report. I didn't read into it where maybe it was him and Deshaun. He got traded to the Browns. Okay, so I did see something.
Yeah.
Now I didn't know what it was. So do tell. Go ahead, my man.
Yeah, he's got like 10 or 12 allegations from a few different massage therapists and massage parlors in the Baltimore area for the same exact sexual
Mm.
misconduct that Deshaun Watson had. He's obviously denying everything. Obviously, the story doesn't come out till the end of this season. A lot of people are speculating that maybe he knew the story was about to come out at some point in time. If you notice, he's struggled this year kicking the football. I'll be interested to see how it goes and what comes of it. Even, I'll go all the way back to when all of that stuff started coming out about Deshaun Watson. it all came out the moment that he demanded a trade from Houston. Is all of a sudden all of those stories came out. And I really didn't want to believe any of it. I really, truthfully, I thought that there was somebody that was up to something because he had demanded a trade, that maybe the Texans had paid some people to say some things. Comes out that all of these stories are true. I never want to doubt a woman that's making these claims. I think as a society, right, we do that too much, where we don't quite listen to what they have to say, and then it turns out later on that it was all true and factual, and we just didn't want to believe it about that person. So I do not want to believe it about Justin Tucker. I mean, he's been a staple in the NFL, and the best kicker we've ever seen in our generation, and I just don't want to believe that anybody's that kind of monster. I know that they exist out there, but I don't want to believe it. So I hope it's not true. I hope there's some misgivings here, but if
Yeah,
there's
that's one of the toughest circumstances in life, that he said, she said, because unfortunately there have been both sides. There's been the stand-up guy, the stand-up woman, and they have adamantly said they did not do something, and they just flat out lied. And then that hurts the people that it actually did happen to.
yeah,
It's tough because you've got the people that just go out for clout, money, or just to hurt somebody or need attention, and that exists because it's throughout history and time and personal experiences. It happens. People make up stories, and it just
yeah,
makes it much harder to prove the true stories because of
it
the
does.
lies. And it's a tough situation. Those athletes are always idolized, looked up to, and they're, apparently get massages all the time. It's a thing,
Yeah,
and it's one
well,
on one. Now they're going to their house to do massages. You're going into someone's house. It's just you and them, and um, it's not good if guys have to be smarter.
mhm,
Especially after Deshaun Watson. I mean, you should know, hey, maybe people just thought he's good. What a crazy dude he is. But
right,
if you looked at the 30 people that alleged he did this, maybe three of the 33 were making it up. I mean, think about that. I mean, is he just a serial, that possibly? But you got to think, I'm gonna always have a maid. I'm gonna have a camera. You're gonna do
yeah,
this in a filmed room. If you're not doing anything wrong,
yeah,
have your security system film it. Have one of your boys there. Have a maid. Gotta.
yeah,
There's things you can do to prevent it. So
most definitely. And I will, if it all comes out true, I will feel the exact same way about this. Like, to me, Deshaun Watson should not be in the league. Like, I just I don't think there's any room for that. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. You know, I've got some things that I'm not proud of, and I have a belief that people can change and get better. But sometimes you're supposed to just lose things. Like, to be able to play in the NFL, to me, is a privilege that 1% of all human beings are able to do. And if you're going to go out and do things like that, you shouldn't be allowed to be given that opportunity.
you shouldn't your slap on the wrist, or your while you're waiting on court, should not be to sign the biggest contract in NFL history. It's
Right, exactly.
that shouldn't be the
Right. The first fully guaranteed multiple $100 million contract ever.
your point is you shouldn't be in the league. In the NFL with sports worlds, like, you're going to get the highest paid guaranteed contract. It's just,
Right.
can we find some middle ground here and say, hey, we're going to
Right.
just defend you until the allegations are over? How about that? We're not
Yeah.
kicking you out. I mean, there's middle ground. Not It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be black or white, but I just, we've seen guys get sent out of the league for less
Oh
than
yeah.
that. So
Well, hey man, on that, let's get to the Super Bowl, man. How about
let's
how about this
do it.
game? Let's do it, man. So you had started off by saying, maybe not the matchup we wanted, but the game 2 year was it 3 years ago, 2022, however many years
Yeah.
ago that was now. Dude, that was a hell of a game.
It was
38-35, Kansas City.
was a it
They
was a real good game. I just, the fatigue of it all. Me personally, in this game, I am rooting for Kansas City, though, and it has nothing to do with the fact that Philadelphia is in our division and they mollywopped us in the NFC Championship game. It has more to do with it. In my life in sports, if my team's not in it, I've always rooted for history. So last year, I was all on the Detroit Lions bandwagon. This year, obviously, I was on our bandwagon, first rookie quarterback to ever start a Super Bowl. That didn't happen. I was on Buffalo's bandwagon because I'd love to see Josh Allen and the Bills Mafia get a Super Bowl, right? They deserve one. But at this point, we have the matchup that we have. And so I'm rooting for history again, right? Because we have the chance for the first ever three-peat in the NFL. Um, and honestly, if I'm going to break this game down, right, you alluded to it earlier when we were talking about Howie Roseman. The best roster in the NFL belongs to the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's not even close. Like there's not a team that's 1A, 1B with them. They are the most talented team on paper in Philadelphia. And really they should win this game, especially if Saquon can rush for 110, 120 yards and a couple of touchdowns. It should really be Philadelphia's game to lose. Obviously, Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes are the favored team, right? Been there before. They've already beaten Philadelphia in a Super Bowl, and you have Patrick Mahomes. And if it comes down to a one-score game, I think Patrick Mahomes gets it and gets his fourth Super Bowl in 7 years, gets his third Super Bowl in a row, and he starts really making some noise to be considered all of this before the age of 30, by the way, and starts kind of getting some momentum to maybe catch Tom Brady for that GOAT title.
Absolutely. So about the game, Philly better roster.
Mm-hmm.
The game in 2022, I kind of see this game being flipped. So I think it was 24-10, I want to say at half. Philly was up 24-10.
Yeah.
And then only scored 11 points in the second half. Philly did. Hurts threw for 304 and Mahomes threw for 182. I kind of see that being flipped. The Saquon thing, I think, Hurts isn't going to have to throw for that much. I think Saquon's going to eat up some of those yards. Kansas City had 4 guys rush for 158, and Philly had 4 guys rush for 115. I see that flipping. I see Mahomes having more passing yards. And then Kansas City had 2 guys, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, each caught one pass. That one pass was a touchdown.
Yeah.
Well, Kelsey and Juju brought in most of the catches. Devontae Smith went for 100. A.J. Brown went for 96. So Hurts had a hell of a game, and that year, I can't really remember if was he in the MVP discussion? And he probably not, right? I think he blew up after that year. Like he was in, big time fantasy.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
But I don't think he had I can't really remember, but I don't think he had an all-worldly year, but he had a great game in that game. And I kind of similar to this year. He had an all-worldly year. I think Kansas City's got to hope that their defense keeps them in it. Don't think they're going to be able to run the ball.
No, not against that Jalen Carter kid. That dude is a monster in the middle.
Absolutely. And I see Kansas City's defense. I don't think it's 38-35, right?
No.
We're talking 24-20 would be about the score I think it's going to be. I think Kansas City's going to have, Mahomes is going to have to do it with his arm.
Yes.
And like you said, chasing Brady is almost impossible because if you listed out his accomplishments and his records, his rings, his awards, they're just insurmountable. He owns everything. He has the top elite of everything. He doesn't have a three-peat, right?
Nope.
He doesn't have that. And all of that stuff Mahomes is just creeping up to and creeping up to and creeping. People will already want to argue, does this make him the greatest? No, it doesn't make him the greatest, but it sure keeps him on that trajectory, right? He's headed to a spot where the argument can be made,
Well, and the thing is that Tom Brady had 3 Super Bowls early in his career, and there was a 10-year span where he did not win any Super Bowls.
Like he had 2 Hall of Fame careers. Have you ever seen that comparison?
Yes.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. But Tom Brady also only ever had three MVPs. I think Patrick Mahomes has two already. Tom Brady was not the MVP of every Super Bowl that he played in.
Yeah, Deion Branch won one. Is that
Yeah, and I
right?
think Julian Edelman won one too. But so there's that, and then so he'll have more or as many Super Bowl MVPs if they win this year because Mahomes will get the MVP. I mean, unless Chris Jones or somebody's able to snag that because Chris Jones might have to have a Super Bowl MVP type performance for him to get this win. This will be the best offensive line that they played. But yeah, I've heard both arguments that yes, if he gets the first three-peat and has four Super Bowls before he's 30, you know, he could be considered the greatest of all time already. Um, I don't know if I necessarily buy that.
Well, see,
But
everybody, you're
definitely
projecting
it definitely keeps that conversation going for a little bit longer, right?
because
Like,
the argument there though is that what people don't understand is they're projecting, right? They're like
yeah,
he's going to continue to win, but if he were to get injured after if he wins a Super Bowl this year, has a three-peat, got injured, never played again, he wouldn't be the greatest of all time. There's
right.
no there's no way you could say he could have been, but
Yeah,
it's the longevity of it, and everybody just projects like they're assuming they're going to be in the AFC Championship game every year, every other year, going forward. And I don't know that they
he
can.
hasn't missed one yet since
I
becoming
don't
a
know
full
that they
time
can.
starter.
He's got a lot of quarterbacks that he competes with over there. Burrow and Allen and Lamar. But he just every year keeps doing it. He just knocks off whoever's there, whoever is there, except for the one year Joe Burrow and the Bengals got by him. And every
Yeah,
year he just is like, nope, no, we're gonna go ahead and go to the Super Bowl again. Um, I don't know who are you picking in the game. I don't. I'm torn. I don't know. I
I
think
don't know who to pick either. It's hard.
I like the
Like
NFC East
my
to get the
brain
championship, but I
my
also would.
brain says Philadelphia is the best team. Take the best team. But there's also this part of my brain that says Patrick Mahomes has entered Tom Brady territory in the fact that you just don't bet against him.
Absolutely. Like, how many times did Tom Brady burn people and go, "Oh, they're getting
Right.
upset this year. They're going against a better team, better."
Dude, I remember I bet against, and I bet big against Tom Brady in the Atlanta Super Bowl. And I remember it being 28-3. I was dating a chick at the time that absolutely hated football. And she was like, how much longer do we have to keep watching this? Like, this thing's over with. This is ridiculous. The other team can't even score. And I was like, fine, we'll change the channel. And then I start getting these updates, right? And I was like, oh, we're going back. We're going back. So luckily I was able to catch the end of that. I didn't get to see all of it. I had to watch a bunch of highlights. But that's just one of those things that like, do you yes, on paper and looking at the game, you should be all over Philadelphia -1.5 and probably the under and probably even Philadelphia money line. But there's just something about this kid, Patrick Mahomes, man. If it's a one-score game and he's got the ball in his hand, it's game over. He doesn't lose them. They've won
Yeah.
something like 17 games in a row that were decided
One
by one
possession.
score or less.
That is amazing. Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around, right? The way, especially all the football we watch, and you see the
Yeah,
ones that how anything that ball bounces. It's a game of inches. Like you do everything right, and the guy on the other side makes a hell of a play, and you're an inch short of a first down. You
right.
do everything right, and a guy comes around a defensive end, slaps it out of your quarterback's hands. It's like there's just so many things that could go wrong. Your kicker, you get him down to the 25-yard line and a bad snap, a bad hold, the kicker just shank it.
Yeah.
And they make the plays at the end of the game and they don't have turnovers. Their kicker
They
comes through.
they just don't make mistakes,
They
man,
don't
at
make
all.
mistakes.
They're
I,
well coached, they're well disciplined, you know. I
I don't know who to
I
pick, man.
just I feel like this is going to be one of those games. Watch out for Travis Kelsey. Philadelphia does have trouble covering the tight end. Zach Ertz got we did not play well at all in that NFC Championship game, but Zach Ertz looked like Zach Ertz from the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles against them. They do have trouble covering the tight end, so I look for Travis Kelsey to have a big game. which is probably the only reason I'm going to pick uh, Kansas City, is because of the Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes connection, and the fact that Philadelphia struggles with covering a tight end. You know, Zach Ertz and Travis Kelsey are probably the same age, probably on the same decline of their career. And Zach Ertz looked like he was 15 years younger, you know, and so I feel like that just that connection that those two have and their ability to know what the other one needs and wants and where they're going to be and what's going to be going on, and the defense can't ever guess that. So I expect Travis Kelsey to have a big game. I don't know if it necessarily correlates into a lot of touchdowns, but I expect him to have a lot of catches for a lot of yards. And I do. I think Kansas City just pulls it out. They pull out the three-peat. And I think they're probably going to send Travis Kelsey off into the sunset. I think this is going to be, if they win this game, I think he rides off into the sunset on a Super Bowl win.
I could see that. I could see that. Do you think anything? What do you think about these two? You got two outdoor teams used to playing in weather, the elements, right? That's what they're used to. They both have home field, and now we put them both in a dome. You think anything of that? I like to look at who's the better dome team. Um,
Um, Again, on paper, if you look at it, minus Xavier Worthy for Kansas City, that benefits
Philly,
Philadelphia more than it does Kansas City.
yeah.
You know, Kansas City's not got a lot of speed over on their team. I mean, Hollywood Brown, but I think he's still not 100% from the injury that he suffered, you know,
But
early
that
in the
that also
preseason.
correlates with Kansas City's defense. It can fly around, so they're going to be flying around. I just,
Yeah,
I just thought of that while we were sitting here talking about how where's the game at? Because I was picturing the 2022 game and it was outside,
yeah.
and here these two teams are that are used to the elements this time of year. Um,
Well, I
getting
think I think that
indoors,
benefits both of them that there are no elements. As far as the fast track of the turf that you get at the indoor stadium, I think with your AJ Browns and Devontae Smiths and Saquon Barkley's, the advantage for that goes to
and
Philadelphia.
Philly plays in Dallas, and Kansas City goes to Vegas, so they do get they get
Well, Vegas has natural grass in their dome. They wheel the field in and out, kind of like they do in Arizona.
nice, let it get some sun, bring it back in.
Yep.
Nice.
So I think that'll about do it for us. So who are you taking? I'm taking Kansas City.
Man, I don't know. For the viewers, probably probably Kansas City in the under.
Yeah, I'm going Kansas City in the under as well. I think they have to keep it under to have a chance to win it. And if they get it down to staying into a one score game, Kansas City just wins those games. And
What is the over under, by the way? I'm pulling it
I
up.
think it's 48.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one, man, because I like the NFC. I like to keep it in the NFC East. I love when and I'd love for our division, like either one of you guys making it and then make our division stronger.
Yeah,
Um, I would love to see that. But just like you said, I love seeing history. I love guys breaking records and being part of our generation that's, can do stuff.
yeah.
Um, but it's never been done. Okay, so now it's -1 Chiefs and 48 and a half. When it 1.5 most of the
Yeah,
week.
it was 1.5 up until probably today. I know as late as last night, it was 1.5.
Somebody also, I heard somebody that I follow talk about if you're doing the over under bet, wait till the last minute because everybody's arriving in New Orleans this weekend. And as they
Mm-hmm.
get to the game and they start to get liquored up and everybody starts getting ready for the big game, they're all going to start betting the over because but betting public loves the over. We love points. We think it's. And
Yeah,
so he said that could get up to 50 by the time the game starts. So then you definitely nail the under. So
right. Okay. Keep an eye on that then. But I think with that, man, we've
yeah, good stuff.
I think we've come to the end of
College
the
basketball,
program
big
today.
game today. The Razorbacks are hosting Alabama.
Let's
Arkansas is
go,
turning it around.
Arkansas.
Let's go Hogs. Who did we
Let's
beat
go.
Wednesday? I can't remember.
What was that?
I said, who did we beat Wednesday? Oh yeah.
I I don't know. My cable got canceled, and
Yeah.
see what had happened was.
But it happened. Well, let me tell you all about it. It was Texas, man. We went into Austin and smacked that ass.
All right. So with that, we'll let you go out with your little trash talk, and we'll get out of here. If you guys could, before we sign off today, man, like and subscribe, share us with your friends and family. Help us get out there. And with that, the Star Command is out.